Okay, so I got stuff piled up all over the place. The washer's going because I'm gonna be leaving in the morning. So always that I haven't even packed. That's so weird because normally I swear to God, before I go on anywhere, I'll pack like a month ahead, and I haven't even done it. I got all this stuff piled up here. I got to put in the car. Trying to wash my sheets so I can come home to nice clean sheets. It's always rough when you go, I'm taking my air mattress even at my mom's. I'm gonna sleep. She has a shed thing too. Mine's made into a little guest house. Hers, she wants to make it into a guest house, but hasn't. She just got it cleaned out. So I'm gonna put my mattress out there, my blow up and lights and stuff, and sleep out there because everywhere I go, everybody's got a lot of steps, and Stella can't do steps. She can't even barely lift her legs to go over the door thing, And I had heard a long time ago how most people, when they buy their houses, especially when they were pushing so many of these houses on us of the split level, that how much that screws somebody if they get any kind of injury, like a broken leg and trying to use crutches, or get older, if they want to keep their house and they end up in a wheelchair. Like those houses with all the steps that you have to have a ranch style, like one level. Now I see, like with Stella, like every little time she has to lift up her legs, it's so hard. And you know how she's been just going crazy with her barking and stuff. And then in between, she'll come in and she'll get all excited like a little puppy. It's so cute. But I really think it's the frequencies. Like she all of a sudden gets some sort of, who knows if it sounds like a thud to her or what. I'm not sure. But there was some stuff I wanted to talk about. For one thing, this morning when I got up, I feel like I got this turned weird. Maybe that's better. I don't know. So weird. So when I got up this morning, I woke up at like 2:30. I was just like wide awake. It was so weird too. Last night, I was tired. It felt like they definitely had sprayed something on us to knock us out. And I could not hold my eyes open at all. And I couldn't find any. Oh, wait, I did watch. Oh, because I wanted to talk about it too. I think it's called Outer Range. Outer Range. It's on Prime. Has James Brolin in it. Which he's a very rugged cowboy kind of guy. Kind of reminded me of like a Sam Elliott or something. But so it is a supernatural thing though. It's about one of those it's a portal. And he finds it out in his acreage in Wyoming. It's really, really good. And it's only got 6 episodes. So unless they're going to add more, but I think I don't know if that's it for this season or what. I don't know. I'll have to keep checking, but it's good. So I had watched that and I was really into that. And then I turned on the frequency stuff and I kept turning on ocean waves. So I had turned on these ocean waves and oh my gosh, they're so soothing. And I was laying on the couch and I was just listening to the ocean waves. And I went into this totally deep meditation and I was totally somewhere else. And it's so weird sometimes when you go into these deep meditations, like you'll be thinking and talking and doing this stuff and you're like, oh, I got to remember this. And then you come out of it. It's like, what was I going to remember? What was it? It's like totally 2 different worlds. I think that we understand things on a certain level when we learn them in a dream or in a meditation or whatever, but sometimes it's hard to remember this stuff because I'd even noticed when my dreams started changing when I was waking up and it stopped being like what I considered dreams. You just go into these little picture movies all night. It started being like where I was in classes, I was going and doing stuff. It was really weird. And, but going into that one, I was like so deep and all of a sudden Stella started doing that only outside. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Stella's not in the house. I didn't even know what time it was or anything. And I got up and I must have been like 2 hours because I think that was around 7. And when I got up, it was like 9, it was dark. And I went to the door to let her in. I couldn't even, it was totally like I wasn't in my body. It was weird as can be. And I was trying to walk to the door, like, I don't know, like this avatar, it's like we were trying to get to the door, and I didn't have, wasn't fully in there to, you know, to animate it. And so I was like stumbling, I was falling around, and I was like, fuck, I gotta go to bed. I'm like not even fully in here. I don't know where the hell I am. And so I just went to bed, and I was just conked out. And then, what are you doing? She gets down off the couch, walks over there, comes back, gets back on the couch, knocking everything over. But anyways, it was weird. Just so I think, you know, just start noticing these things as your consciousness starts to become more aware and awake, you know, and you start coming more into sync with your consciousness. It's trippy. But like at 2:30, I woke up and I'm just laying there, and I'm like, what the hell? Maybe it's morning. And so I kept laying there, and finally I got up and came out and looked, and it was like 2:30. So I was like, fuck that. I'm going back to bed. And then Stella's crying, so I gave her some more medicine, and I went back to sleep. And I took the ocean waves in there. There's something with the ocean waves. If you want to do some deep meditations, you know, get your room however you like it. If you like candles, if you like certain, like I have a certain, what are those things called? Incense that I just love. I used to couldn't stand, I'm doing bread too. I'm making a bunch of bread to take. I used to couldn't stand incense. And every time I go like to my kids' house, you know, and they were always pot smokers and I wasn't, you know, I was law abiding. I was a nurse. And they, so I always hated that smell too. It was like, smell, all this incense and weed and all that. It just bothered me. But I found this incense that I really, really love. And it does, if you find one that you really like, it does give you like a really peaceful feeling. And there's certain ones too that put off spiders. Obviously not the ones I have, but I have a lot of spiders around me, like living in the woods. It's not like, you know, living in the city. Like we've already, this guy's house back there that I was talking about, he has an infestation of mice. So I told the neighbor when I was out there talking to her, I said, well, when they start cleaning that up, I've heard about this happening in other houses, that when they start cleaning up one that's all dinged out like that and full of mice, that all the mice go out to our houses. So since I've lived here, I've had one mouse. And I tried to catch it. Well, I did catch it. And then I made it a whole little habitat. I was all like, oh, I can't put it out. It's winter. I wish I would have done that with this spider. But I couldn't put it out. So I made it a little habitat, set it up a little apartment. It was so cute. I loved it. And put him in there. And I thought, oh, he'll have a happy little winter in here, like a little hamster. But mice don't like that. And they can jump. I didn't know that they could jump. They can jump straight up out of a freaking bucket. So he went missing, and they're obviously very smart because I think he went directly back into the bathroom, into the pipe hole that he came through. So I went and took, if you use, what's that stuff called? Steel wool. Any place that you have a hole that you put steel wool, mice won't go through the steel wool. They don't like it. So you can put that. Ooh, and another thing that made me kind of sad yesterday, I was outside and my greenhouse has basically become just an art room. It's just art stuff everywhere. And so I had some, you know, when I was doing the, what are those things called? The mosaics. And I had it's like concrete kind of stuff. I can't think of what it's called, but you have to use this stuff. It's basically like concrete. And there was, when I saw the bag, it had a whole bunch of chewed holes. I was like, oh, that sucks. Because I bet you a mouse would come up and eat that, you know, starving in the winter, anything. It probably smells good too. They probably put stuff in it to make it smell good to animals. And then they go in there and they eat it. And then they go drink some water. And then they just, their stomach would just harden. And it's just sad. What a fucked way to go. So now I'm like, well, I'm going to have to start putting that stuff in a bucket. I wouldn't even thought about mice or whatever it is. I can't imagine it's something else besides mice eating concrete, but apparently they will. So, anyways, the one lady who I had seen in my, so I went back to bed then, but when I got up again, but I did look through comments and stuff, you know, I was laying there, and then I turned on the wave stuff and went right back really deep. And then Stella started crying, so I got up, and it was 5:30. And so I looked at the messages again, and I had a whole bunch of this one person who had gone into the homeless post and said a whole bunch of stuff. And see, she got the same feeling as me, as like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Like, homeless, oh, it doesn't matter about them. We don't have anything to do with them anyways. We may as well kill them. Who cares? And how much the population is growing as the government is taking people's homes away and their jobs away. The homeless community is growing and growing, and people are just so dismissive of everybody. I mean, you know, I mean, when it was really clear to me when I had, you know, gone from being a Democrat to supporting Trump, then it was weird how suddenly you became a racist. You became a disposable person, somebody who they saw as a danger. And you know, and then I saw how people act, like putting out a flag, and they think you're a racist and stuff. It's all weird. It's all indoctrination and programming, and those people don't even know they're programmed. It's so weird. They have no clue how programmed they are. And that's the thing that's hard to watch. But that's what I was talking about yesterday, is like, there's got to be a component to we just release it. And I keep hearing that again in my head today. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And I get completely what he was saying, you know, because it's true. I mean, they really don't know. And, you know, they're not firing on all cylinders. And I had seen a thing yesterday, and it was talking about something with the certain areas that they attacked. Is something about the crucifixion, and I don't know. You hear all of these people explain all of these different meanings to things and why certain places were attacked, and there was certain power centers in our body, and you know, there's a whole thing about that. And the crown of thorns was something, it did something to our brains to make it where we don't use all our brain. That's why we only use like 10%. It's something about the power centers that were crucified in us. You know, I think it's part of the awakening. It is the save yourself. I know a lot of people think, you know, like Jesus can come down and save the world, but really this is your opportunity to save yourself. And I believe Jesus that was what his message was the whole time. And we can see what life is like when you're not living, you know, connected to your creator. So, and it's so much a part of the program. I mean, this is a big thing that we're trying to change, like really big. I had no idea how big. and now, you know, I know I'm not from here. I know I'm from somewhere else, because I understand things that so many people here don't understand, and I don't just think it. I know it. I feel it. It's part of me. And that's what happens when you go through life after life after life. It becomes a part of your DNA, a part of your identity, a part of your inner knowing. You go into every single life with a certain amount of knowing, depending on all of your different lives and what you've learned, and it's the soul's journey. Everything is the soul's journey. There's nothing to do with each little life. And you know, another thing that kind of tripped me out yesterday, because, you know, we have identifiers in this life, our name and who we are and who we're associated with and stuff like that. And I was like, it's kind of trippy, because that is the only time you will ever be that person, is in that life. Because every single life, you take the lessons from that life. So the person I am as Kelly is the only time I will ever be this person, because I will learn from this experience, and I will take that into the next one where I'm, you know, whoever, Sally, I don't know. But you are only this person in this life, and each life is to build the building blocks for the soul. So it is, you know, it's really interesting, and that really gives you the idea of how important it is to really respect your life that you're living right now. This life I'm living as Kelly, she deserves to have, you know, my 100% of my acknowledgement or my awareness, or, you know, I mean, she deserves everything I can give her in this life, if you get my drift. And but one of the things I wanted to talk about, this was so trippy. This was so surreal. I was just so mind blown. And it just was backing, you know, backs up to, or dovetails, or whatever you want to call it, layers in with the stuff that I have been talking about. So, you know, when I'm watching a show, it takes me forever because I'll pause it and get up and do stuff. And so there was, I was paused, I guess, because I went on TikTok, and I had seen this girl and she said something about, she was reading this letter. Her whole thing was her friend in Russia that she's been pen pals with for 30 years, and she hadn't heard from her since this stuff started because they had switched from pen and paper to Facebook messaging, and when that became available. But when Russia was cut off from Facebook, that they couldn't talk anymore. So she was like all concerned, didn't know what was going on. And so then her friend wrote her. So she wanted to read the letter to everyone. So, you know, I'm sitting there listening to this letter. And in the letter, you know, I can't say it word for word, but the certain things I picked up on was that the Zinsky is, he's one of the swizzle sticks. He's got the swaze, he's the swastika group. That's the big fear, is that's, you know, it's like Hitler. And then when you really understand what's going on in the crane of you, that, you know, people are seeing spaceships on Google Maps, and or flying saucers, better to say flying saucers, and you know, 18 labs, and now that they're saying there's certain medications and stuff they can't get right now because it comes from there. I heard, it was a girl who, she went in to get some sort of injection. I don't know, not the readily available one, but something for something else. Oh, it's something for college, for meningitis or something, and it's not available. They don't have it because it comes from the crane of view, and it comes from the 18 power lab. You know, that's where everything, that's why it's such an evil place. That's why all this is going on. It's part of the taking down the cabal. And you know, when people who have been following along, not with the narrative, but with the story behind the scenes, knows that, you know, Putin took down the banks. I mean, he's on the side of the people. He's not on the other side, as the other side. And this girl was saying that in her letter, you know, that they're being attacked and they don't understand why America, nobody's stepping in to help them. Look who we're funding. But I wonder why, who we're funding, because they're the ones who are under attack. They're the ones who are having the crane of you is coming in, and Joe is giving them, you know, billions of dollars to do it. So, you know, that's why things are about to get uglier, because we are essentially paying them to attack them, and Putin's not going to have it. So, you know, all of this stuff that the lady's saying. And, you know, when I was talking to, I always know I'm going to mess up his name, but I always want to call him Cheese. But in Poland, who, you know, he has a lot going on over there. When the last I had talked, because of all of the migration of people leaving the area and going, and then they are going there and taking their jobs, and there's so much going on over there. But when you talk to somebody who's boots on the ground, they give you an accurate information. Like right now, when they're sitting there telling people on the news that there's an increase in cases in Washington state, it's bullshit. It's the towers. It's the spraying. It's nonstop. It's not any freaking But see, they can trick people. And like I said, I bet you the ERs and stuff are all full, especially in a place like this where there's so much unawareness. There's so much accepting the abuse. You just take and shut up. It's what it's like to be alive. That there's a certain demeanor that a progressive Democrat carries, and it's different than when you start being, I'm a God-given creature, and I deserve to have the rights of, what that means. And just like with animals and stuff, and they're attacking, their whole attack is on all of natural creation. So, they think they're so fucking special. Make your damn self a different, make yourself a little earth then. You're so, you think you're gods, like, don't take God's creation and then destroy it. It's like, I don't know, these people are just so sickening. But anyway, so when I heard her reading the letter, and I'm like, oh, see? So, people who are there are saying different than what we're being told, as usual. Like, big shocker. Like, I've already said about some of the stuff they're saying about America and other countries, and it's completely false. They say whatever they want because they own all the media. So they just create a story, create a narrative. That's all they do. And then people who buy into it create a reality. And so this lady, after she read the thing, she said she did a part 2 because she wrote the girl back, because she said, well, I'm going to respond. So I will do another video so that I can tell you my response. And so, I was like, okay, let's go see what this lady's going to say to this girl, And that is where I was like, oh my God, I've taken a wrong turn. Like that movie, Wrong Turn. That's what it felt like all of a sudden. I was deep in, the zombie red zone when I went into this, and I had no idea. So she starts reading her letter back. And like within a couple minutes, well, it's only a couple minutes altogether, but within a couple seconds, I'm like, what? Wait, what? What are you saying? And so she's like, I know you don't want to hear this. And I know this is going to be hard and you're not going to be able to wrap your head around this, but it's all a lie. They're lying to you. You don't understand who the real enemy is. It's all a lie. I was like, what the hell? What in the actual hell? So you think your news, because she's like, on our news, it says this. On our news, it says that. So you're being lied to. It's just like, what the, how can you be this programmed? Like, what in the hell? Like, you think your news is giving you the truth, and her news is lying because she's in Russia. So, that's a communist place. So they're being lied to, not you. No, it couldn't be you. And so I'm just like, okay, this is weird. So then I ate a cookie with my tea. I don't know. So now anyways, now I feel like an old lady. There's a piece of cookie in my tooth. So, anyway, so then she goes, so I go into the comments to see, like, what the fuck? Like, what are other people saying? This blew my mind. It absolutely blew my mind. So when I went in and read, these people are serious. They are serious as a fucking heart attack. And they are going and saying, all our news you can trust. You cannot trust news over there. And that poor girl, how horrible, how sad. She has no idea what's going on in her own country and all this stuff. And it's just like, what? This is so surreal. And then I saw where people would come in and try and say, wait a minute, what about our media? They're lying. The response would be, oh, what? I guess you watch Fox or something. Oh, what? You think Trump is going to save it? And all this stuff. They just start talking about Fox, Trump, and all this stuff on people. I was like, oh my God, this is so freaking creepy. I went in and I commented on a couple different people's thing like, oh my gosh, this is weird, isn't it? And one person wrote back, and then I wasn't quite sure what she was saying, because she was saying, somebody was saying that they are believe in Soros and Ghislaine. I was like, I didn't hear the Russian girl saying that she did. Like, she's like, well, the Swazi sticks are coming after us and bombing us and tearing down cities and stuff. So we gotta be careful. But, I trust Soros. I didn't hear her say that. So I wasn't even sure what that lady was talking about. I'm like, what? Did I miss something? I don't know who's supporting them. But, probably people in the comments. Because how they were. They were very much like, it's weird because this other reality that they're living is so real to them. And they think that all of us are crazy because we're not trusting the news. We're buying into the propaganda. I couldn't believe how much I was seeing propaganda thrown around and how much they could be so oblivious to the propaganda in their own freaking country. And this is what I was saying too about yesterday. They don't pay attention. Like, it drew them in when the news was making such a big thing about Trump and talking bad about Trump, and everybody loves to jump on a hate train. So they were all over that, And then this stuff, what they created, the racist and all of this, what do they call them? Hillary named the people who supported Trump despicables or something. I don't know, something like that. Something like despicable people or something. I can't remember, because a lot of people in that community, you'll see if you go in and infiltrate, and see what's going on in the truther community that's, trying to get the messages out about the government. And, those people do a lot of research. Like, it's crazy. Like, you learn a lot. I've learned so much about the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. I've learned so much going in and listening to those people. So I always say, you should go in and listen to everybody. Don't just say, especially now when you're seeing, like, there's people who are out there purposely turning you the wrong direction in all communities, spiritual, everything. So you got to really be really careful who you listen to. You got to really go inside and think, does this make sense? Sit with it. Ask your guidance. Does this make sense? How am I feeling about this? This doesn't seem right, or it seems too good to be true, or whatever, Really think about it, because this is all about sovereignty. This is taking us away from following people and, trusting somebody else with our life path. It's us coming into this, the Trinity, the mind, body, spirit connection, and then following that guidance. And the more you tune in, and you don't have to, for me, I know I'm saying a lot of stuff that's so crazy for some people. And, and I can accept that, okay. But I know this stuff, so I know that I'm saying stuff that is true. But it may not be true for everybody. If they don't understand it and it doesn't make sense to them, then it's not going to be their truth, But for other people who look at it and go, oh, yeah, man, I hadn't thought about it that way. I hadn't noticed that. But when you start putting it together, it's like, dang, you start seeing and really, like I said before about the puzzle, all the pieces start going together. And then, it starts developing color and picture in the puzzle. And all of a sudden you see the whole, ugly situation that's happening. And to see how deep now that the people are programmed. And what's weird is, because I did that video, the boomer one, where it was like responding, because people are so dismissive. And a boomer it's so weird how they just took this word, and just like anyone who's older or an older person than you that doesn't agree, you're just automatically called a boomer. You're a boomer. Okay, boomer. Okay, shut up, boomer. Okay, boomer. Like, you have something to say. Okay, boomer. Okay, go eat some lead paint, boomer. It's like, what? So now I'm a boomer. And so I even looked it up, and they changed the parameters, and they made it to 1964, which makes no sense. Then you got to question, like, why would they do that? Why would they change the parameters of the baby boomers that were born after World War II that signified who they were? And now suddenly it's like, oh no, it's just an older person's called a boomer. An older person's called a boomer. Those are the ones that destroyed the planet. So, remember that. They're the ones who gave you such a hard life now. It's all their fault. It's the boomers' fault. Blame them. And then they just go along with the program, just like they do with the freaking the stuff with Trump. Like all of a sudden, we're racist psychopaths if you say you support freedom. It's like, okay, it's very strange. But so in that thing, when I did this little video, I was really irritated that day, and I know I talked about it, because that one girl was doing this whole long thing. I mean, it's like the one girl who is constantly, I'm neurodivergent, my son thinks Jesus can be a girl, and whatever her stuff. She's constantly ragging on boomers. I don't see her stuff anymore. I must have stopped following her or something, but her stuff was just so divisive. It was so progressive, so divisive, so and that, just hungry for labels. Oh, please give me some more labels. I don't know who I am. Please give me a label. Give me one of those little guns and spell them out. Just stick them all over me. These little sticky notes. I'm this. See right here. I'm this. It's like so weird. Because I think it's most important to just be you. Just be unique. Just be yourself. That's all you got to do. Just be you. And whatever all the little parts that make you up is who you are. But we're not just defined as one thing. If you're somebody who drinks and has a problem with drinking, well, that doesn't just make you just an alcoholic. You're a lot of other things. You just happen to have a problem with controlling alcohol like a lot of other people. There's certain things in some of this stuff that triggers things in your brain that is easily triggered in some people and not as easily triggered in other people. And so, you don't have to define yourself in this small little label, that you're more than that. You're bigger than that. And so when I did that video, and it was just like, oh my God, you call us boomers. You say we eat lead paint. But, I had a great childhood. My parents were too busy, because they're always, oh, my parents weren't there. My parents don't care about me. Nobody cares about me. It's like, I don't know what they've done to, well, I know that they did a lot of stuff, because I started seeing it when I started noticing The Simpsons was making the parents stupider than the kids. And I was like, okay, this is weird. This isn't like what I grew up with. And I think that was all part of the whole thing to get kids. It's just there's a division. There's an isolation. The kids are, they're way more consciously attached to their device. Some kids don't even know how to talk without their device. They're so full of anxiety to try and communicate or connect with another person. They can only go through their device. So, that's pretty major. Think about it. So when I was, and I said, so when I was a kid, we were outside. We were out doing adventures. We were on our own. We were creating life. We were doing, we were actually living our lives. That's what life is all about. And so many people who were raised like that got so excited, like they had forgotten life could be good. And it's like, what happened? Life used to be so good. What happened? Yeah, what happened? What happened? How did we go from being able to leave our doors open and, sit outside on our porches talking to neighbors, dragging our grills out into the street and having block parties and, giving our kids a safe place to grow up. And I think it has so much to do, the shift, when they started doing this shift to the city life, and they were building communities, I mean, they weren't building communities. They were building a city structured life. And even in the suburbs, they're still, they've still got their fingers in it. They're still maneuvering it and stuff with the schools. Because I lived in the suburbs, I've lived in the city, and it's all part of the way of, I think, kind of like, so the people left England. They were like, okay, this bullshit. We're sick of being poor and paying our taxes. It's a whole nother country, and people are going there, and there's opportunity. And they come over here, and they start, going up into, that's how there's so many people up in the mountains, up in the Appalachian and stuff like that. Probably when they were crossing, it was like, oh, this is hard work. Let's just build a cabin here. This is a nice place, and a lot of places got built. A lot of people started living up in the mountains and weren't going in the cities. They were moving out, like even in that movie Outer Range, in the series Outer Range, and they're in Wyoming. And they talk so much about like the farm that the guy is talking to. These two farmers are arguing. And the one guy, he's like, this has been on our family 3 generations. 100 years we've been farming this land. And so that's the thing. And then there's some big ranchers, who have way more property than they could ever possibly use. That's hoarding. There doesn't need to be... We don't need to have ownership over Earth. We just need to be in communion with it. We need to have our own place to thrive and live and experience. So, you don't need to be like, oh, I own, 200,000 acres right here. Nobody else is coming near me. It's like, yeah, we need to have some separation. We don't need to be up on top of each other like this maniac over here who's cramming 300 more houses in. It's like freaking ridiculous. Like, so ridiculous. I can't even, I'm just hoping that everything goes down, to stop it. It's, I don't know how many houses they got going right now, because now they've put up this ranky-dink little fucking gate, to keep us. We're not allowed to go over there anymore. We used to go over there and walk around and go up on the hill and stuff, but this is an elite kind of place. It's got this retarded little, like, gate thing. It's like the kind that you would put at your house, like one of those on wheels or something, but they've got it automated with a card or number or something. I don't know. Everything is just so divisive and so ridiculous. And the people who play those roles enjoy it. They want to be greedy, like, yeah, I'm going to cram 300 more houses in here. And I'm going to go buy myself up another 100 acres so I can separate myself more from these people. It's like, you are creating this, you're creating slums for people when you're just doing that. And then they're charging $400,000 for these houses. Oh, God, it's so crazy. But when they came across and they came over, and they started trying to survive, making farmers and building communities, and little towns were developing. And they started, there's a lot of those older places are coal miners and stuff. They're miners and hard workers. And those guys, that's where all of that stuff kind of started. And it seems like to me that they started kind of like lobbyists or drug reps or something, infiltrating into communities. Maybe it was the snake oil salesman. I don't know, since I have no memory of it. But that they started luring people into a place that they could be controlled. And and then plus dangling education, more money, less hard work. But really it was all just a trap. It was like they're going through the communities with a net, just netting in all the fish that can't get away. All of them with hopes of having something bigger and better. And some of them were willing to sell out, and do whatever it took. And other people found that that's not the way to live. It makes you feel bad. Because, some of us have that, that part of us awake already. Like, we know it's inside of us what's right and what's wrong. And screwing people over is going to make you feel like shit. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to feel like that's the wrong thing to do because I'm going to go home and feel rotten. I still feel horrible about the damn spider that I tried to tip him out of the cup and he wouldn't go out. And he ran back up in the top like, no, please stop. I still made him. I feel so horrible, especially that vision of him coming out and tumbling down, and I don't know where he went. I feel horrible. But, there's people that don't feel horrible, and they do that to animals or other people, family members. And so whatever they did, when they started deciding how much control, because the more we grew, the more that they would do to control us, and all of their plan with all of their indoctrination and stuff of what they've done in the schools. But to be able to take us from a place where we had still communities and then to change it this abruptly to where you have kids that are, against older people. Like, I grew up respecting older people. Like, you would always be respectful of elders. Now they've been taught to dismiss them, don't listen to them. They're the devil. They're evil. Just detach from the older people. And obviously detach from everybody. Don't have any concern or care for any other living being. Don't have any empathy for if they're down on their luck. If they are down on their luck, they're expendable. Who cares about them? They're disposable people. If you, and it's weird. It's like, do these people not understand who is making these decisions? Who decides who's expendable? Do you think you're going to never be expendable to them? Because, it's very likely at some point you would be in their radar as being expendable as well. And so there's a sense of arrogance. And that is, part of this work that is going on, is this ego work. It's all with this arrogance and stuff that you can tell. They're so arrogant with how they look at things. And that's the ego, completely out of control. And the more their soul is quieted, the bigger the ego gets, especially when they just don't. I don't know. When I was talking to my daughter, this is years ago, and I was saying something one day like, well, they're always telling me, they're always talking to me, and I've told her a million times, and she's like, oh my God, why do you keep saying that? Nobody's talking to you. You have thoughts in your head. You're thinking things. Why do you have to give your thoughts to say they're coming from someone else? That's so weird. And to me, that is so arrogant. Like, okay, my brain's just coming up with stuff. I don't have to know it. It just pops into my head because my brain's so fabulous. No, I have an awareness that there is communication. You can ask them things. They will show you things. They will tell you things. When you don't know how to fix something, they will tell you how. They will drop down tools that you need. Like, it is weird. Yesterday, I even did this one video because it just really hit me. It's like, all these people say, oh, well, where's the proof? Where's proof there's a God? Where's the proof of supernatural? Where's proof of this? And then they get it, and then they're in denial of it. It's like, no. It's like, this world is literally too magical for you to wrap your head around because it is beyond what you understand. And, for me, it was worth all of the bullying and all of the stuff that I had to endure to get to where I am now, being called a new age, a crazy person, and all of the names that I was called over time to stand firm in my own beliefs. And now I'm so glad I did, because I knew I was right. And I knew that they were being misled. And, some of them just continue to be misled. But man, when I went in and read those comments, and I was like, oh my God, after just reading those ones with their completely detached from humanity, and then those ones where you know, even people who are in the situation don't have any clue what's happening in the situation. The news is telling the truth. It's like, oh my God. It is bizarre. It is so bizarre. So again, I don't know. When my mom sits there and says, I don't think they're all going to wake up. I've heard it from a lot of people who are awake. I don't think they're all going to wake up. I don't think they're all going to wake up. And now when I've seen some of this stuff, it's like, man, I don't know. I know something big's about to go down. I just feel so certain of it. And I saw today a video, and I'll have to really code talk on this one too, because they're removing this, they're washing this out of human history. But there's some tests being done in the water for, you know, the things that swim around underneath, the big things during war that they use to sneak around under the water. They were using those to shoot things that you can miss full. And then they were nuke. And so they were like dead ones, but they were doing it to see what would happen off of the coast. And what they found was nothing happens. They've got an open area on the coast because we have to, something with the ships or something, I don't know. So they found places that are open. And in this one, that guy was in particular saying, and Russia knows this, and Russia knows that we're giving all this money, and they are pretty angry at us. So it makes a lot of sense on the Simpson 5/5/2020, which, you know, it's weird because I'm going to end up being gone from my house. I'm going to be over with my family on that day. And I keep thinking, like, weird. So if that is a day that something goes down, am I going to be cut off from my house? Is this all happening so I am away from my house? Is this lining up so I'm going to be with family at this time? Like, it's curious. But it could be nothing happens. It could be just a big old dud, like so many other duds that go on. But I really feel so certain that, you know, we register time and day and night and, you know, how we spend it by a clock and a calendar. But a clock and a calendar is only an illusion to time. It's not real. And so they can keep flipping it back, and we think days and stuff is going on, and there's maybe a reason why. It just seems like the never-ending winter, because maybe we're still in winter. I don't know. I mean, when they're using all of this manipulation of stuff. So, you know, and it is completely different on the time. I mean, there's so many people now talking about, like, I didn't know it was 2014 in, I don't remember, Nigeria or something. There's different years in different places, not just different, like, oh, my friend in Australia, like it's tomorrow there, which I always thought that's so weird. But now it's like totally different years with people around us. And that's what really gives me the idea of it's really different planets. We're just under the same system is what we think of as being planets, because planets are really just realities. And when you look at this bigger map of the beyond the ice wall, that there is all of these other island looking things that look just like what it looks like in here. So I think that we are a bunch of different planets. I think it's probably why so many people look different, like of different colors and stuff, because that's what it's like on other planets. Like in the Pleiades, you know, those people are white with white hair. There's some of them, they all look like a little bit more what you would imagine an alien would look like. But a lot of them are humanoid and don't look that different than us. And so, you know, it makes total sense that we're living with aliens. We would think of them as aliens if we really if we were going on the concept, if we were on another planet, and the different planets, different realities, and somehow they've merged us, this planetary system in this earth plane. under this firmament, but I still think that they are different, like, planets. And even when I had said about, it's kind of weird about this whole airplane thing when we fly places, because when I was driving into town and it was all this weird stuff going with the sky and the colors, like, I'm curious to see what the sky is going to look like when I'm driving tomorrow. But when you're driving towards where you can see Canada and you see all these big mountain backdrop, and the way it was colored, I was like, that does not look real. That looks so fake. Like, is this just like in the fish tank when they put up these things? Like, are we really going, when we go on airplanes? Like, I don't know. I think that when you can go on a train underground and be in Japan in 1 minute from Washington, D.C., but then we're having to go in an airplane and fly, like, what? I don't know. I think there's a lot more interesting stuff that's going to continue coming out. And, I think that we just have to really, I don't know. I think be aware. Somebody yesterday told me, like, I think it was about the towers or something, and they said, quit spreading fear. I was like, awareness is scary to you? Like, I think I would rather be aware than not be aware. I want to know what's going on. Or if there's a monster under my bed, I want to freaking know there's a monster under my bed. I don't want to go in there and be oblivious, So, I don't know. People have just a weird way of looking at things. So, I think, we just got to kind of add it in there. There's definitely people who are ready for the purge. And the sad thing is those people, for they know not what they do, they don't even realize they'd be coming up against a lot of patriots. Like, they're trying to create this civil war. And it's sad because those kids that believe this stuff that they've been taught have no idea what life was like, have no idea what it's like to be free, have no idea what it's like to live with your doors unlocked and be able to go outside and play with your friends until it's dark and not worry about kidnappers and killers and all of the stuff that they've created here. So they don't know, how great it can be. And some, even in the thing, they were getting really irritated with a lot of the adults who were saying how great life was. Like, oh, thanks for ruining it for us. And great, throw it up in our face. And, they're, I'm sure that it feels really horrible. I'm sure their soul is telling them this is not right. This is not right. And I'm sure they're confused. And the people who are trying to, turn their mind towards science and control and indoctrination and tyranny, and they all think, having the government in complete control over our lives and money is a good thing. That's the best thing we can do. So I don't know. I think we just have to have awareness that how deeply programmed these people really are. I don't know what's going to happen if everybody is going to completely wake up. And and one thing too, I'll end after this, but one thing too is if you want to know more about like what people are saying about the age of Aquarius and what life's going to be like and stuff after all this, go in and watch some of those Alice and Co., the older ones. She hasn't been talking because she got so attacked. I wish she would still keep saying her, doing her QHHT sessions and telling us what they're saying. But when you go in and you listen, you find out that all the people are saying after this event, after this thing happens, whatever's going to happen, it's going to flip everything, is, and I think it's after the med beds and stuff too. But the people, when they were seeing themselves, she would say, like, what do you look like? And they would say, well, it's weird because I look like myself, only I'm much healthier looking. Like, I look way more muscular. And a lot of the girls were like, well, my hair is really long and thick. I've always wanted long hair, but I've never been able to grow it. And I've got really long, thick hair, and my body looks really good. It looks really in shape. And that is, I think, part of this breaking free from this low vibration. When we start moving into that higher vibration and we start being able to do more with our avatar and our consciousness. And that's why, when I'm talking about, start practicing that, put in the order for yourself. Like, oh, it is a lot more challenging when they keep the frequency low like this, to do anything, I think. But, we'll see. But I think that's the whole point of why they're doing it with frequency, is to keep us low and sickly and to prevent people from waking up. If everything was high vibration and people were excited and happy, I mean, life would be very different. So, all of it, I just think it's all about awareness. It's about, and the things that bother us to just be like, if they bother us and they trigger us, it's happening for a reason, for our own growth. So just look at it and think like, am I having a problem with time? Which that's an easy one to have a problem with. Time, hope, faith, all of that stuff is challenged during these times. This is the 40 years in the desert kind of situation, where those people had to just keep knowing everything was going to be okay. Everything was going to turn around, even when all seems lost. And that is what that Juan kept saying about, it's when everything seems hopeless and lost, that's when everything's going to turn. The creepy thing is, how absurd and lost things can be, and it still doesn't, it doesn't penetrate the programming for some people. So, I don't know. I still say that it's going to be that big, scary moment, which, that Hawaii moment, if we have 10 minutes to live, that's going to really impact a lot of people. A lot of people are going to be like, what the hell? And they're going to have to start seeing. And I think that they would take the media down, and it still could go down this week. I mean, and Trump is sitting there saying that it's all going to be released, that the courts have now said who's really the person in charge. But it's just weird. It's just, this whole thing is so weird. When you see how much hold these people have actually had in our lives, and then, as an older person, and just really put it all together of how people just were so passive. People just got comfortable sitting on their couches and bitching about what the government was doing and didn't take action, didn't pay attention. And the government was, devouring us. They were setting up a plan to take us to another level. So I can't even imagine people saying like, having awareness is dangerous. Like, that sounds kind of idiotic to me, but to each his own. So we got to that's one thing I just have to keep on doing. Well, okay, whatever works for you. I'm not about to start telling you how to live your life. So I don't want anybody telling me how to live mine, and I'm not going to tell anybody how to live their own. I can share the insights that I have, and I trust my guidance. I'm not telling anybody else to trust theirs. I'm just telling everybody, we all have it. And for some people, it may be more of a challenge to decipher through the noise in your head, to hear the communication, but it's out there. It really is out there. And you do have communication that is there to lead you and guide you through all of this. So, and you know what I was thinking about too, because this keeps going on so long, and I swear, when I started this, I really thought I would maybe be doing it like a month or two, and I thought, oh, it'll be over real quick. There's no way that this could go on. It's so weird. It's so weird. It just goes on and on and on and on. And it's like, fuck, it's so weird. But now I started thinking like, it's weird because I have been really documenting what it is like in this awakening as an individual, but also what, it's, I don't know. I just thought, this could be useful in the future. I know I'm not the only person doing it. I'm sure there's a lot of people who were motivated to do it. But you think about it as being like the education for people in the future. to understand what happened during this time, because this is a significant time in human history, what's going on. And, I would say anybody, journal your experience, document your experience, because what is happening is very significant. And, if you want to understand more about reincarnation, I think Dolores Cannon is a great place to start. If you want to understand more about the Age of Aquarius, listening to the QHHT ones that Allison Coe was doing, because she always was asking people about that. When she started having so many people that kept going to the same place, she started asking more and more and more people. And she she tells what, she doesn't play the actual thing. She just tells you, in her notes what the person said. She has a question answer thing and she writes it down, and then she tells you what they say. And it is, I just know we're headed for something good. We just got to get through this hard part, but it is really necessary, because the people who are in this world we wouldn't have a different world if it was just the same. If we just all of a sudden were like, oh, now we're the Age of Aquarius. I mean, we'd still be surrounded by evil. This has to occur this way. And we all are just along for the ride. And it can be a scary ride at times. So we just stay strong and stay working on you, and, just love yourself and love everybody you're around, and try and, just let go of things. I don't know what else to say, but we'll see. Tomorrow, I don't know. It depends probably if I get up really early, but tomorrow's my travel day, so I might not come and say anything. And then it will depend. I'm going to be there for a couple days, so depending on how much time I have alone will be the difference if I say anything. But, if shit does go down on 5/5 and comes to that scary moment, just remember, don't be scared. This has to happen this way. And the threats, whatever they're threatening us with, it could affect some people. There actually may be some people who will transition from this, and it may very well be the people who are the most asleep. So don't be scared, because you're awake for a reason. The people who are awake, you're awake for a reason. And this is so you can do your healing and prepare for this new world, because the new world is coming. How this old one has to go down and end is, remains to be seen. You get a lot of insight when you're away from a situation, just like now, being older and being able to look back at what the schooling system has done and see it more clearly as you move away from it. And so it's going to be the same thing with this whatever event that's going to happen, that's going to be so scary. So just, whatever it takes for each person to just stay centered, don't get caught up in the fear. And I think there's a lot of us who will be the light during that, our energy. If they start saying, the nukes, we got 10 minutes. I would say just go into a meditation and just keep focusing on love and light and pulling that energy in, because you will radiate it out. And there will be a lot of light workers, grid workers, wanderers, all that. We'll all be doing the same thing. And, I know I'm a wanderer. And that is another thing it has about in Dolores Cannon too, and about the 3 waves. So it might help you be more identify like stuff about you when she talks about the 3 waves. Like for the older people, it came in as the first wave, and we were all had a certain thing we were supposed to do, which I can see now how that worked, because, I was born in the South during a transitional time of racism, and I brought a different, plate to the table than a lot of other people had. And that's all it is. It's bringing a new dish, And then, but a lot of those people just got beat down and depressed, and they are being awakened now to remember who and what they are. And that it's time that shit's going down. You came here for this, and this is all going down now. And then you have the middle one, the second wave. And then the third wave are a lot of younger kids. And so I don't know that they are the programmed ones and they are going to wake up. I don't know. Like, this is all stuff, is, wait and see kind of thing. Or are the ones that are more awake, are they the ones that are the future, and the other ones are going to transition out and go to other three-dimensional realms to keep trying to figure out who they are, So I don't know. There's a lot to come. But I would just say for sure, if don't get scared, and you're going to have people who will be scared and fearful if something does go down, and and they're not, when you're trying to say, hey, it's all a show, it's just a movie, it's not really going to happen, you're going to sound crazy. So you could end up, being, trying to calm people down. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Because so many people are so fearful of death. They're so scared that death is the end and that's the judgment. And it's just not. It's sad that that's what they have turned the Creator into for these people. But yeah, it's all about love. It's all about light. It's all about acceptance. And there's a lot of souls who have to go through a lot of stuff to learn that stuff. So, I went through a lot of lives to get to the point where I'm at. And there's all sorts of beings down here who are from all over the place. I mean, the guy I heard yesterday talking about the wanderers said something like there's 6 billion of them. There's tons of us that are here from other places to bring in this new energy of love and light that has been lost to humanity. So, and probably if you're listening to me, I would assume you're probably one of them. And it can be very confusing when you're first waking up to the truth. But we all have a purpose here. We all have a reason to be here. And it is to, help humanity move into this new phase and to give information that has been lost or hidden from them, or to help them remember and turn on their inner knowing, because it's all inside of us. So anyways, that's a lot of talking, but I might not be back for a couple days, and I'll just, wishing all of you guys the most love and light, and just remember, everything is going to be okay. Gets me emotional. But it will. It will, after all of this stuff. I'm telling you, after I got my brain injury, it seemed like the end of the world. Like, oh my God, I've gone through all this hard stuff, and now I've got a brain injury. Like, man, can I ever win? And then to find out years later that the brain injury was the best thing that ever happened to me. I was like the luckiest day of my life. And you don't realize some of the things until you get past them. But all this stuff will make a lot more sense when we get past it. And we're looking in the rear view mirror at it. So anyways, just stay strong and keep in love and light. That's all we can do. Talk to you later. Bye.